this video, I'd like to show you the third section of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, the first movement. So up to this point, I'm assuming you've already seen the first two sections and been working on them. Hopefully you even have them memorized and have started to play them. Now I want to emphasize at this moment that the previous two sections you've already worked on, you should continue working on those the same way, even as you're learning this new section. So I'm going to show you the new section, but don't stop practicing the other two sections. The first section, which hopefully you've seen the video and have been working on, was sections A, B, C, D, and E. The second section is phrase F, G, H, and I. And now we're going to do phrases J, K, L, and M. So I'm going to show you how to divide these up and we'll get going. Now I want to just reiterate the concepts that we're working on here. You're trying to memorize this and learn it at the same time. So I'm showing you how to block it through, getting the chords first in the right hand, adding the left hand, putting together with blocking of the chords, so that you're basically learning the images and the moves of the chords to make it easier to memorize. And we're going just 2 and 4 measures at a time, also to make it easier to memorize. When we play a phrase, a 4-measure phrase, and stop in the middle, we're purposely putting that stop there to put a little trail marker in your brain so that you know where you are at all times while you play through the piece. It's a great way to have a piece memorized, and it takes a lot more work, but in the end, you know it better, and you can play it without having to read the music and play it out of your own mind and out of your own heart. If that's the way you like to play, you can be a little more emotional with your piano playing when you know music that well. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how to divide it up. I just really want to quickly remind you to keep an eye on the fingerings and the pedalings. I put the camera specifically so you can see when I'm changing pedal, because I don't always remember to talk about that, but it's very important that you notice where the pedal changes are. So here we go. I'm going to divide the music up for you and then we'll get started. All right, so this is the third and fourth page of the music that you hopefully already have off the website. And if you remember from the previous section, I marked the sections with a big square bracket. I've already started marking this one. The next sections I marked with a square bracket here. And the J phrase I marked, it's a 4-measure phrase from here to here. And you chop it in half. The K phrase I haven't completed yet, but a big parenthesis around the opening of it. And then here's the end of it. And I think we're going to go 2 measures and 3 measures on these 5-measure phrases here. So these 2 and then these 3. The L phrase, kind of top of my page here, I have a hard time writing it. And the L phrase is 4 measures long. So I'll chop it in half starting right here. And then the M phrase is 5 measures long. So again, we'll go 2 plus 3. The first 2 are a little more complex. And that will mark the end of that section. I could have included the last bit here in that section, but I decided to make a separate video because that makes it kind of a really long section. So we'll just put a little ending video on that very last section here. Okay, so anyway, this is the third section. This is the section we're going to work on in this video. All right, so let's get started with a J phrase. The right hand, coming from the previous phrase, had a C sharp minor chord. This is the pickup chord, C sharp minor. This is kind of like the beginning in the first phrase. After the introduction, you have this chord and our melody going to this. You already know this material. And then the F sharp minor chord. And then the E major. So this is exactly like the B phrase from the very first section. So you already know it. Let's do that one more time. Actually, let's assume you already know it and add the left hand. The left hand has the power chord for the pickup, and then go to the G sharp major, and then the C sharp, going here for the F sharp minor chord, and this is for the E major. So let's just go ahead and do that once, blocking with both hands. So you already know that. That's the first two measures of the B phrase. Let me go ahead and play it once. There's the pickup. Okay, so there's the first two measures of the J phrase, same as the B phrase, first two measures. Now, let's do the next two measures. Here's where it gets a little bit different. It starts the same as the B phrase did. You have the E major, and you have that neat B7 chord, and then another one. And we finish with E major. You invert it up. That's where it's different. And then a melody, and we switch to a B7. Okay? So on the B phrase, we did just E major and switch to E minor. Here, Beethoven stays with the E major, inverts it up. I use a 1-2-3 fingering, and then the melody comes in again. Okay, there's that B7 chord. Let me do that one more time with the right hand from the beginning of that. This is the third measure of the J phrase. Once you have that memorized, the left hand can be added pretty easily. Here's the left hand playing the B, and then B again. When you go to the E major, you play E, surprise, surprise. Then when you go to the B major or the B7 chord, you move down to T sharp in the left hand. Okay? So now let's go and do both hands. You've got the right hand memorized, left hand memorized, put them together. That was the last two measures of the J phrase. Once you have that memorized, you can go ahead and play it as written a couple times. And Beethoven had when you got to this E chord, he has a rest in the melody right here, which would indicate change the pedal. I kind of like holding that through. I hate to disagree with Beethoven, and maybe you shouldn't. I just like the way it sounds to hold that E through, but you can always clear it with the pedal if you want. Anyway, let's go back now. Once you've learned and memorized those two measures, it's time to put the whole J phrase together. Now, the first time you put it a blocking with a stop in the middle, and it goes like this. So, and we'll stop, and then restart. Now I'm going to do it as written with a stop in the middle. Here's our chord in the left hand. Stop, and then go. Now you're ready to do the whole phrase without the stop in the middle. Now, as usual, I kind of just want to remind you that you'll be going much slower than this when you first start working on it. For instance, see, this is about how fast you should be going. This is how you get control. Work on keeping those chords soft underneath, bringing out your melody. Do it that way over time because I know that you know you're supposed to go slow, but so that you can see it without taking too much video time, we'll go a little faster. Here we go. I had been setting things at 42, so kind of a starting tempo for a performance. But I'm telling you, you can go as fast or as slow as you need to. Okay, this is the previous measure. Here we go. That was the J phrase. Once you've got that learned, you're ready to move on to the K phrase. So the K phrase starts in the right hand with this B7 chord. Octave B, 4, 2 in here, and you just play that chord 3 times like this, and then the melody comes in on the 4th one, and you go right back to the E major chord, and then the next chord here is a G sharp 7 chord. Interesting, it sounds so beautiful, leading to C sharp minor. And we finish here. This is kind of the G sharp 7 chord without the middle note here. Here's a G sharp major with the 7th added. Okay. So let me go back to that one more time without talking so much. And that was the right hand for the first 2 measures of K. And now it's the left hand. And then you step up, and then back down. Okay, so they're kind of heading in opposite directions on that. It produces a nice counterpoint. So I'm going to put them together. Once you have the right hand memorized, left hand memorized, put them together like this. Once you have that memorized, you can go ahead and play it as written a few times. Yeah, that's a really neat part, how they move apart from each other. Once you have that memorized, you're ready to move on to the second half of the K phrase, which is 3 measures long. So let me show you the right hand first, blocking. You finished with this G sharp 7 chord. And of course, that leads to C sharp minor. And I love this. He goes to a D major chord, root position. And then we go back to that G sharp 7 chord, leading right back to C sharp minor. And then he changes it to major. You can, of course, change your pedal when you do that. And then we have this really wonderful, kind of hard to reach. If your hand's too small for that, you could probably get away with like rolling it like that if you need to, okay? Hopefully you can reach it. It just sounds better if you play it all at once. But again, if your hand is too small, you can get away with, I think, rolling it like that, okay? So let me do that right hand one more time. D major. Change to major. And this is like an F sharp minor chord with a D on top. Okay? So now the left hand, once you have the right hand memorized for those 3 measures, learn the left hand. And that's all you have to know on the left hand. Work on that till it's memorized, and then put them together blocking. Change pedal here, really hard to bring out that D, but you got to do it. Now, once you have that memorized, try to do it as written. That was the last three measures of the K phrase. Once you've done that a few times by memory, then of course try put it together with the first two measures of the K phrase, and I'm going to do it blocking and with a stop in the middle first. So back to the beginning of the K phrase, is that B7 chord. Stop there and then restart. Here's the second half of the K phrase. And now we're ready to play it as written. I'll keep the stop in the middle. So we're starting here with our B7. And of course, you go much slower at first. Realized I totally forgot to put the stop in the middle. Sorry about that. So I flip-flopped them. That was playing straight through. Now let me show you doing it with a stop. Not that you need to see it, but I like to try to be consistent. And then stop. That's where I should have stopped. And then that was the one with the stop, and I already showed you the one without the stop. So now you understand. You see the putting the stop in there is just really important for putting a little trail marker in your mind, so you always have these spots where you keep track of where you are as you play through the piece. And you'll continually practice the piece that way too, on every section. Right up into the day you perform the piece at Carnegie Hall or wherever. No, truthfully, you just want to get it well memorized, so that's how you would work on it. Anyway, after you've got the K phrase memorized, go ahead and put J and K together. I'm not going to do that right now, saving time. I want to go ahead and move on to the L phrase. Right. So the L phrase is a four-measure phrase that sort of repeats the same two measures twice, or plays the same two measures twice. Slightly different on the second one. So anyway, just so you're aware of that, you'll see it when we get there. But I want to do the pickup chord, to L. So actually, it's this. It's a C-sharp major chord. This is the last chord of the K phrase. And it goes to that nice stretchy ninth chord with an F-sharp minor underneath. And you get a B-sharp here. Looks like a C when you play it, but it's a B-sharp as written with the music. And then back to the C-sharp major chord. And you're just going to repeat that, but we're going to stop right there for the moment. Let me do that again without talking so much. Pickup note. That's the first two measures of the L phrase with the right hand. The left hand had a C-sharp holding from the previous measure, and then you outline that F-sharp minor, and when you finish on C-sharp, you're back on the C-sharp major chord, and that's it. So you got the left hand memorized, the right hand memorized, then it's time to put them together. So left hand's holding. You'll notice that I'm going to change the pedal every time the left hand plays. Okay, so here we go. Left hand holding, right hand play the pickup chord. that was how you block it. Now once you've got that memorized, it's time to do it as written. So left hand's holding. And that was the first half of the L phrase. Now you'll notice the second half, very similar. Starts out with the pickup. Let's do the pickup chord again. And then the right hand blocks that F sharp minor chord. And here's where it gets different. It changes in the middle to F sharp minor. And then the first chord at M is our good old B7 chord. B major with a 7th added. Beethoven gives us this. Okay? So let's do that one more time. Right hand with a pickup to the last half of the L phrase. Of course, I wasn't thinking about changing my pedal with the right hand. I could have, I should have, but I didn't. You understand, you'll be pedaling along with the left hand. So let's do the left hand. You've got the right hand memorized. The left hand is holding a C sharp, and then you outline your F sharp minor chord. And you finish with your C sharp, jumping down to the F sharp in the middle of that measure, and then back up to D sharp. Underneath our B major chord, B7. Notice that the chord that the right hand plays, the B7, is missing the D sharp, and Beethoven puts it down here. That doesn't always happen, just so it happened at this moment. Okay. So now let's go ahead and put the hands together, assuming you had the right hand memorized and the left hand. And the right hand's doing the pickup, left hand's holding C sharp. Oh, whoops, sorry, it's major. That was how you would block it. And now you're ready to play it as written. Block it several times by memory, and playing it as written should be easy after that. Exaggerated that crescendo a little bit. You don't want to exaggerate the dynamics too much, but we'll leave that up to you for now. So hopefully you have those last two measures of the L phrase memorized, and it's time to put the whole thing together. Let's go back and block through it with a stop in there. And there's our stop. Then I'll restart. And then let's do it as written with a stop in there. So you're holding. Restart. Okay, now we're ready to put the whole L phrase together. And once again, I just want to remind you, because it always takes a lot of reminding, you should be going much slower. Let me give you an example of how, if you're first on this for the first time, you should be going about this tempo. Or slower. There is nothing wrong with going this slow. And I screwed up because I can't talk at the same time. So when you're practicing it first, go that slow. Of course, I'm going to play through it a little quicker so you can kind of see what it's going to sound like. Let me see if I can capture a 42 kind of. So. course, once you have that memorized, you can go right ahead and put them all together. The J, K, and the L phrases, play them together with stops, without stops, however you want to do it. But I'm just going to move on to the M phrase next. So the M phrase starts out with this B7 chord. So you block the octave Bs 3 times on the chord underneath. And then on the 4th B, you switch to an E major. Now starting right here, it's going to be easier for you to memorize if you focus on how the outside notes move and how the inside notes move. So we have this E major chord. The outside notes are going to move down, but the inside notes are going to stay the same. And I like to switch fingers on that in the middle. Watch. So I have this, and then the outside notes move. Now the inside notes move. Outside notes move. Inside notes move. And then they both kind of move. Though the C sharps stay the same. So you have 2 of these. Notice on this measure, oh wait, we're going to stop right there. So that was 2 measures. That's good enough. Let's go back and do that again without me talking so much. Watch. Okay, so learn that, memorize it, and then play the left hand and learn it. The most active the left hand has been in the whole piece. I did sort of a combination of fingerings here. You could do 5 on the bottom of all of those if you want, like this. It's probably the simplest fingering. I like to use a series of 4s and 5s. I think I did, I don't even know what I did. 4, 3, 5, 4, 5. That's a little more complex than you probably would want. Maybe just put a 5 on the bottom of each of those. Regardless, you'll get those 2 measures learned with the left hand and then put them together. And I change the pedal with each one of these. With the hands blocked. Now let's go back and do them as written. That time I just stuck with a simple 5 fingering to make it easier. So now we're going to roll the chords in the right hand, playing them as written. And that was the first 2 measures of the M phrase. So work on that till you have it memorized, and then time to learn the second half, where you start with this chord and then walk up. Notice the inside notes staying the same, and then we get our C sharp minor chord. And then our G sharp 7 now is the 7th down here. You have to reach a 9th. Again, if your hands are too small, you could get away with practice it, okay? So for now, hopefully your hand's big enough you can block it like this. And then we're going to jump down to C sharp minor, and we're just going to invert it up and play it 3 more times. And then we go to the G sharp 7 chord for the first chord of the N phrase. All right, let me go back and do that again without talking so much. These are the last 3 measures of the M phrase. This is a neat part. This is where, when you transition from the M to the N phrase, the left hand will be taking the melody. So you'll see that now. I'll play the left hand. This is the last 3 measures again of the M phrase. G sharp again. And then, it should be very soft. I was playing it a little bit loud. And then the melody in the left hand. kind of tricky here. Try to bringing out that melody without getting too loud with it. So anyway, now you learn and memorize the left hand, and then put the hands together, blocking. Now the left hand melody. That is the blocking on those 3 measures. Now let's play it as written. Do it blocked several times so you have it well memorized, and then playing it as written should be easier. So I'm really trying to be soft in the right hand so my left hand melody can come out. Now, once you have those last 3 measures of the M phrase learned, let's put the whole phrase together. First, let's do it blocking and with a stop in the middle. So we're here. Stop, and then restart. Go ahead and play it as written with a stop in the middle. Oh, I forgot to stop. Stop. And now restart. I get into the music and I forget. Tried to play the melody in the right hand there. Sorry about that. Anyway, hopefully you'll focus better than I did just now, and you'll get that first half of the M phrase stopped, then the second half of the M phrase. Once you've done that, it's time to put them together. So here we go. I'm going to put the whole phrase together. And as usual, I want to remind you, you should be going ultra slow. So when you play it at first, you could be going this slow. There's nothing wrong with this. This gives you a lot more control when you're first learning it. So when you go through this section, when you go this slow, you have a better chance of training your hands how to play it the way you want it. I'm going to go ahead now and play through the whole M phrase. I'm going to catch kind of a 42 here. So... that was the M phrase. Now, of course, once you've learned the M phrase, and you've done it several times by memory, then it's time to put the whole section together, which is what I'm going to do next, just playing through the whole. So here we go. We're going to play through the whole third section, which is the J, K, L, and M phrases. I'm going to play the pickup chord in the left hand, and the right hand comes in. This is the pickup to the J phrase. that was the whole third section, all the way up to the first chord of the in phrase. So once you've learned that section, go ahead and, of course, review the previous two sections, and then you could play them all three together. And of course, you could be going much slower while you're working. It doesn't matter. Speed is not a big deal when you're first learning it. So just keep it as slow as you need to think your way through it. And then you're ready to go on to the last section, which consists of only two phrases, the in phrase and the o phrase. So I'm going to make a separate little video for that, and then you'll have the whole thing. Good luck with that.